Hey guys, and welcome to episode 29 of Kingdom Business TV. I am super delighted to spend this next little bit of time with you. We've got an episode packed full of teaching, maybe a bit of scripture, and your questions. So guys, I want you to simply let us know your business questions. They could be around marketing, sales, recruitment, team, time, money, cash flow, family, life, church, assignment, politics. We are here to basically build businesses to be resourceful for the kingdom, right? This isn't about building businesses for the sake of making as much money as we can so that we buy Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Bentleys. This is about building businesses as believers, seeing it as our duty to build businesses and use our gift of entrepreneurship to help advance the kingdom of God. That is what we're here for. Trying to equip you twice a week, Monday and Thursday, 3 p.m. So it's a delight. Now, for those of you that are in the southern states, appreciate you dialing in on your public holiday. For those of you in Queensland, thanks for taking time out of your busy work schedule to do this. I'm just going to try and bring up your comments, which I can't bring up just yet. Here we go. Great. All right, I want you to tell me where you're from, right? If you're a regular viewer, sorry, I know that becomes a little bit monotonous, but it helps me to see what's happening and who is out there. And then I'm going to be giving some stuff away. Why? I don't know. I just like to be generous. So we've got some books here. We're going to be giving them away on the show and generally having a good old time. But I want your questions, so how do you do that? You can either put your phone number in the comments below, one of my team will reach out to you and call you, or you can send a private message to the Business Greenhouse Facebook page, put your phone number in there, and one of my team will reach out to you and grab you that way. They will call you, patch you through to me, and I'm going to be here to answer your questions. So think about that question you've got right now, right? I'm sure you've got more than one. Let me throw my 2 cents in to answer it for you. While we do that, while you think of your questions, send it in. I'm going to teach a little bit. One show will be around the Bible, one show will be pure business, and we'll just kind of see how it lands. What I want to talk about today is I kind of want to call this the networking show. You know, I want to have a conversation with you about your network. Like, how many people do you know? And I think there is a direct correlation between the amount of people you know and the size of business that you can build. Now, there are obviously anomalies to this, like there is in anything, you know. This isn't about whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. You can be both of those and build a phenomenal network around you. You know, one of the things, you know, that I always find interesting is when people say, I'm B2B or I'm B2C, I'm business to business or I'm business to consumer. And this little comment, although it's true, one of the interesting things that goes on inside my head straight away is I'm like, rubbish. You know, the whole world is P2P, it's person to person. In fact, I would go so far as to say a business has never, ever bought a product or a service. It's people that buy products and services. And so the more people you know, the better relationship you have with those people, the more people are going to want to help you, the more people that can buy from you. And so, you know, I think one of the traps of this modern digital world that we live in is everybody's waiting for the platform to do the work for them, right? You know, you can build your network on social media, and by the way, that's a phenomenal idea. That's why I'm doing all of this, right? Get my message to a broader group of people, and you should be doing the same. But I just don't think you can do a great job if that's all you do. You've still got to get out and get eyeballs with the people. The people are what matter, right? Get it, you know, make sure they know about you, build relationship with them, and then over time, they will want to help you, okay? So I kind of want to talk about getting out of the digital world and out into the analog world that worked for a long time before the digital space came along, and help you build that network around you, right? If you've been in business more than 5 minutes, you would have heard the old trite phrase that your net worth is your network, or your network determines your net worth. And although that sounds very Tony Robbins American rah-rah, it's also a little bit true. Like, there is a direct correlation between the amount of people that know you and you know them, and the depth of those relationships, and then your ability to call on those people when you need to. All right, it's just a phenomenal thing when you are well connected, and so I want to talk into that. So let me tell you my story a little bit. My first 2 businesses were in London. Okay, so I grew up. I did my first 14 years in the UK. I did the last part of high school in Australia and worked here, and then I went back when I was 19 for a couple of years. So I went back over there, built a few businesses, sold them, came back to Australia, but I was pretty much like straight out of school when I left, so I didn't know anybody in the business space. So I moved to the Gold Coast when I came back in 2003, late 2003, but I knew nobody. And I jumped into a business where I was basically selling telecommunications, and I thought to myself, I don't have a network. I've got no group that I can go straight to. What am I going to do about this? So I literally just typed networking into Google and found that there was this group called BNI, Business Network International. And so rang them, when's the next meeting, went down to a local chapter in Southport on the Gold Coast. And that started a journey for me. I did 7.5 years of BNI back when I first started business in Australia. But I was at everything. I was at the networking events. I was at the Chamber of Commerce events. There were other networking events that were on. I was going to breakfast in the morning. I was going out socializing in the evening. I was very intentional about getting out there and meeting new people and shaking hands and grabbing business cards and following up and having coffee and having lunch, because I didn't know enough people. And I knew that there's a direct correlation between the amount of people I know and the size of the business that I can build. So I was just intentional, out everywhere. Maybe even a little bit too much, like some people might have thought it was a bit crazy. But it was at the early stages when I had spare time on my hands that I thought, listen, let's just go nuts and meet everybody. And I built some phenomenal relationships and built a bit of a reputation, actually. People were like, man, you're everywhere, And I remember I had like 4 different suits and they were all pinstripe, pretty bold. And so even that built a bit of a brand around who I was, always there, always well dressed, and so forth. And so basically, that really, really set me up, okay? So I met all these people, had all these relationships. I would meet them at all these things, take them for coffee, go for lunch. What that meant was that, obviously, the first business that I had, the telecommunications company, I was able to really grow that really quickly. I was helping people. I was putting people together. When I would hear somebody that says they want to meet with this person, and then I'd meet that person, I'd put them together, go out of my way to connect people. By doing that, people wanted to help me, and so they really helped me grow that first business. Now, when I sold that business and started the next one, that allowed me to immediately, so I think the next one from BNI's perspective was the coaching company that we launched in 2016, business coaching, which we still do today, of course. I had an instant network that liked and trusted me, that I liked them, that I was able to go back and go, hey, I'm doing this now. And I had a running start because I had this big network of people. And actually, when I kept the business coaching practice, but I basically focused on another business I had from 2009 to 2011, which was a systemizing business, which I sold in 2011. I was able to then take this bigger audience when I had the third business and just go to them and go, this is what I'm doing right now. And then they were able to help me scale it up. And we took that business into 5 countries around the world and sold it. So I guess all I'm saying is when you have that network and those relationships, literally they will want to help you and you'll want to help them, and they will help you scale fast. Like, just to put it in perspective, if I do a property deal, I still use the same broker that I met in that first BNI back in 2005 and 6. And so I call Rod does everything for me, and it's done. We've got that long-standing relationship. And as long as Rod has integrity and is able to do the job, he will be the guy. And so the conveyancer is the same, and all these people are the same. Uniform supply company is the same. Like, I've got those relationships. And now to this point right now, being well networked, people come to me all the time, our clients, they'll say, listen, I need a website, and I'm able to say, go to this person, or I need uniforms, go to this person, or I need to find out about trademarks, go to this person. And being well connected and having that network around me has enabled me to be a big resource to people. And funnily enough, when you help enough people, they want to help you in return. So I'm just thinking about you right now, wondering, how's your network, right? How many people do you know? Because if you're hiding behind a camera or you're hiding behind a device, you are going to be missing out, right? You are missing out on good quality relationships. Like the social world will give you reach, and that's a wonderful thing, but it's not so good at building depth. that's what the eyeball to eyeball can do, right? When you meet somebody at a networking event and you give them your card or vice versa, if you still do business cards, I haven't had any for about 3 years. But if you pass details and then you say, hey, listen, you call them up and you say, hey, listen, I met you at that event. Let's grab a quick coffee next week when I'm in your area. And that's where you get to find out a little bit more about them and they find out about you. And you can say to them, who would you like to meet? Let me see if I can help you and so forth. It's funny, there would be some millennials watching this right now and go, far out, that seems like a lot of hard work. Yeah, that's right, this business thing is not that easy. But if you can find those people that end up championing you in your corner, they will do more. Like one good relationship that you've built will do more for your business than 5,000 likes on Facebook ever will. Right? So, one's the top of the funnel, but you need to get to that network of people that you know, like, and trust, that want to be around you, that want to help you, and want to help you build your business. Okay? So, by the way, what are your questions? Put your questions, send me a message, or put your phone number in the comments below. One of my team will reach out to you. I'm just going to kind of put what I just said into some context for you. I think there's 3 ways that you can proactively, intentional right now, go and build your network, okay? We're going to call them, 3 strategies, close contact networking, casual contact networking, and building your own board, okay? We're going to put them into those 3 categories. So close contact networking is people that you meet with very, very regularly, highly structured, and works incredibly well. So an example of that would be BNI. If you go to bni.com.au for Australia, .co.nz for whatever, New Zealand, .com for the US, wherever you are. If you have a bit of a look around, you will see that there's a BNI probably somewhere around you. Not everywhere. If you're in regional Australia, unfortunately, they're not always in your area. But BNI, is a massive organization, been going, 40 years or something, 30 years or something like that. And what I like so much about BNI is the structure. It basically forces people to step up and bring referrals to the table, and there'll be people that help you and you'll be able to help some other people, and collectively you'll be able to build your network that way. What I love about it is, you'll walk into a room with 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 business people all want to build their business, 1 per category, so you're never competing, and you just get to go in there and basically have a running start with that network. So I'm a big fan of that kind of close contact networking. Casual contact network, I don't know another example that's that highly organized. Casual contact networking, there's a few more of. Obviously, like a chamber of commerce. If there's a chamber of commerce in your area, they usually do like a monthly breakfast or a monthly drinks at night or something like that. Less structured, less expectation, but you can go to that, you go to those events and you meet people and you ask God for a divine appointment and you walk up to somebody and then you wonder what God was doing. Or maybe you meet somebody who's great and you can say, hey, listen, you're not trying to sell anything in a networking event. You're trying to say, hey, listen, let's catch up next week, or let's have lunch, or I'm in town, let's, whatever. So casual contact network, something like the Chamber of Commerce. I know Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International was quite good at that, although that wasn't its focus. There may not be one of those in your area either. There's only a few of those around the country these days. Here's another little teaser for you of an example of casual contact networking. Have you heard about this brand new group called the Kingdom Business Network? Well, you probably haven't, but you have now. Wasn't even part of our plan to talk about this today, but here we are. So if you want to find out a little bit more about that, you can go to kingdombusiness.com.au/network, and I won't say any more because we're trying to be on the down low on that one for about another week. Or, so that, there's a few options there, or you can actually set up your own networking group and basically build a board around you. You can go and find, 10, 12 businesses that are complementary to yours, that are non-competing, and sit down with them every fortnight, every week, every month. You get to choose, and you could have, like if you were an accountant, you could sit down with a lawyer and a financial planner and a bookkeeper and a business coach and whatever, and you could get together and you could say, this is a closed group. We don't invite anybody, but we expect to help build each other's businesses. And you go around the room and you say, bookkeeper, what do you need? Well, I need to meet, the CFO of Bunnings. And then around the table, everyone goes, right, who do we know? Well, I know the CFO, or I don't know the CFO, but I know the COO, and I'll put you in touch. And you could actually build your own little power team, and you could create a small group that's highly accountable to helping each other build their businesses. You don't have to pay $2,000 a year to be a to be a member of BNI. You don't have to pay $49 a year to be a member of Kingdom Business Network. You could literally just do this in your own way. I am a big fan that you would take your time and go and build your network. You can't rush this. It takes time. It builds relationship. But you know what's a beautiful thing from my perspective is, I'll reach out to people I met in 2006 at a networking event, who saw me go from, a single bloke to being married to having our first child, and you've walked that together. Then when you bump into them or you reach out to them because you need them, you're like, you can catch up in 3 minutes and you're like, oh, how's your husband? How's your wife? And how's your kids? And look, personally, that is so valuable for us in business because the trust is there that when you say, I'm looking to meet this person, they'll go out of their way to find them for you and it'll fast track your business. So what are you going to be doing? Are you going to go to BNI? Are you going to go to casual contacting? Are you going to build your own? Either way, you need to go and be eyeball to eyeball with your community, right? Go and see if the local netball team, go and see if you can be part of that, be a face of it in some way, and offer to pay for the most valuable player trophy if you can give it out at the end of the year. Go to the cricket club, go to the rugby club, go to the croquet club, whatever you need to do, but go and get involved in your community, all right? Digital age doesn't, the digital age is beautiful. We get to broadcast a massive message, but you've still got to get eyeball to eyeball if you want to build something sustainable and you want to build something great. All right, I believe we have a question. Is that right? All right, Craig, you can patch them into me, and it would be great if I had a name. Carol. Great. Hey, Carol, it's Wez Hone. You're on Kingdom Business TV.
Yeah. So I had a business a little while ago, put my whole prayer and asking God into it, asking him to give me wisdom, help me work through everything in the business, and it didn't really work out. I'm in the process of setting up a second business, and how do I know that, or how can I believe that God is in it this time round? I believed he was in it the first time round, but it didn't work out the way I had thought it would, and I closed that business down, so just struggling to believe that the second time round, God is in it with me.
All right, that's a very good question. I just went offset to listen to it on headphones. Sorry, while I wasn't here. That's better. I can hear it now. Thanks, boys. So there's a few things in the way you asked the question that jump out to me. Firstly, how do you know that God's in it? I would say he was in it, okay? But that doesn't mean that it's a recipe for success. Okay?
Yeah.
Because there's a few things at play here. There's the market, okay, that's not dependent on God. There is our own work ethic. There is our ability to grow a business. There is our knowledge. Mm-hmm. There is an enemy that wants to stop us. There's all these things, okay? Yeah. So just because we're a well-meaning Christian and we love Jesus doesn't mean that we're going to get success. Because the other things at play here was the business any good? Was the product desirable? Did you have the ability to market it well? Did you hit a niche? Do you have sales training to be able to convert? They're all things that we need to have regardless of whether God's in it or not. So why don't you tell me a little bit more? What was the business?
So the business was a handmade jewellery business, and I kind of figured out really why it didn't work the way I wanted it to. I came to the conclusion that I would have to be making jewellery 24 hours a day, non-stop, to create the quantity that I needed to make it available in a large scale. And also it was quite high-end, expensive costume jewellery, so it wasn't fine jewellery, it was costume jewellery. Yeah. That was in the days before Instagram was huge and social media was huge, and I realise now with my new business that I can utilise that in a lot better way, with the tools that we just didn't have sort of 7 years ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't work 24 hours a day, so you needed to probably increase your price, and then it needs to be boutique and build a brand around being a high level. So that's fine. What's this next business that you might start?
So this new business, I'm looking to run an online business selling products that pamper, nurture, and bring you joy. So for people who are stressed, for people who are come home at the end of the day and they're tired out and they just want to chill and relax. In my mind, I want to create a place where people can, buy eye masks and
Okay.
bubble bath and rose
So are
petals
you
and,
sourcing
that-
these
that's
products, or are you selling them for somebody else?
I'll be sourcing products direct from manufacturers and also from some small scale boutique type manufacturers here in New Zealand.
Okay. It's effectively the same business, just a slightly different product. So you're going to run into the same problem because, it's not like the second business has a market 1,000 times the size of the first business. It's not like the first business was selling Russian tiddlywinks and now you're going to sell soap because, both of those businesses that you were talking about have a mass market, okay? So the differentiator here about whether the second business is going to work over the first business is actually not about God. It's about your ability to build a brand, to sell products, to work out product market fit, to run the numbers enough to get it to work. I'm not a fan of blind faith where we kind of go, God's got to be in this for it to work. I think to me that feels, not that you would ever intentionally do this, but it feels like we've completely abdicated to God. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing my bit, God, and you need to make the business successful. Everybody that I know does that usually falls on their face. So obviously, he makes up for our, listen, he's amazing and he makes up for our shortcomings, but it's just a bad strategy, right? I think to put that much on him. So, and maybe he was in the first business and maybe although he didn't make it go down the toilet, maybe that was just life and the market and our own knowledge. But maybe he's there picking up the pieces, so that you learn the lesson from the first one, so that you're better prepared for the second one. And that's him being in the business. You know what I mean?
I actually do believe that. Yeah.
So I kind of feel like he's going to be in with you anyway. It doesn't matter what. In fact, I would say he said he'll stick closer than a brother. So whatever you choose to do, he's going to be in it with you. So that bit is that that's a beautiful part of the relationship. I just think there might be some things that you need to upskill yourself in to be able to shore up your chances of success. With the second business, you certainly shouldn't be shy of it. If you've got an itch, you need to scratch it. So if you want to start another business, you should definitely do it. But don't just go with the same strategy of the first one.
One thing I neglected to mention, in between that time, I have actually built a brand for, I'm a contractor, and I have actually built an online store, built the brand, and worked quite heavily in a business for somebody else. So now I'm thinking, right, I've learned some skills, I've learned some stuff, I need to just grab what I've learned and what I learned from the last business and put it into a new business for myself.
You're already better than you were first time round because you've got that knowledge of the skill set of what you've done. So I think, ultimately, from my perspective, you're going to be fine. You just got to learn business like everybody else. And I kind of think that an online store is a very difficult way to grow a business. Now, you would think it's easy, and it is easy, but the mistake that a lot of people make is they think that an online store means people will find it and buy from you. Once they see it, they probably will buy from you. But an online store that you don't market is about as relevant as a surf shop in Alice Springs. It's just not going to work, right? So
and having been involved in marketing, I get that.
Yeah, so that becomes your job. You've got to make everybody in the world know about your online store so that when they're stressed, they need to buy something. And I think that's probably what you didn't do first time round. So
and then we didn't have Instagram and stuff, and so I think it's easier now in that respect, but to get to your audience, but. Yeah, I know it's still.
I would say it's different now. I wouldn't say it's easier, because you could probably have pounded the pavement and gone to find stockists and sell wholesale, and it's just another channel for you to promote through. It's not like the world has suddenly become really easy, because I mean even right now, Facebook and Instagram, are throttling us with reach. So unless you're actually spending big dollars with those platforms, it's very hard to get any kind of traction anyway. So it's, just because they're around, yes, they're great to have, but they are not the differentiator to make up for somebody who, with not knowing how to grow a business. They're just one pillar in growing it. So hopefully that helps. I would just be investing all my time in learning sales, learning marketing, learning products, learning drop shipping. I would just be learning, because that knowledge is the variable. You know, a lot of people say to me, my business failed because of cash flow. No, it didn't. It failed because of knowledge. Businesses always fail because of knowledge. If you had more knowledge of how to fix the problem, you'd be able to do it. So it's always a knowledge gap, and that's where I reckon you should spend your time. Between now and starting the second business, however long that is, and then ongoing for the rest of your life, you should be learning. Speaking of learning, I want to send you something because I like to be generous, and I want to send you a book, okay? A business book.
Cool, thank you.
Yes, we will even send international. I'll be in New Zealand next Friday, next Thursday.
Next Friday, I'm coming. I'm coming to the conference.
Oh, brilliant. Yep. Okay, cool. All right, so I've got a couple of books here. I'm going to read them to you, and then you can choose which one you want. I've got a book called The Daniel Plan. That's more of like a healthy mind, healthy body kind of book. I've got a book by Christine Kane. You should know her. I think she's a Kiwi, or you're English, but she's a Kiwi, called Unashamed. I've got How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've got a book on passion and grit. And then I've got my book, Supernatural Business, and my book, Supernatural Thinking. Which one can I send to you, Carol?
I would like your book on supernatural business.
Perfect. All right, Carol, I will hand deliver it to you. How about that?
Oh, fantastic.
All right. Bless you. Appreciate you calling the show. Go well. See you soon.
Thank you. See you next week.
Bless you.
Bye.
How are we going there, Craig? There is a bit of a question in here that I just read from someone. Jan says, I've got a good problem. Been saving up in the business, sole proprietor. Wouldn't it make more sense to save up for a decent buffer, have a month's buffer, or put some of it in super? Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question, and you have probably hit one of my, my little beefs. I like the way, what governments do is they come up with an idea, and then they hoodwink us by giving it a good name. Superannuation ain't that super, in my opinion. Like, you know, if you're building a business and you're, 55 and above years old, well, maybe super makes sense because, you know, there are tax benefits to use your money and it's only a short amount of time before now and when you're going to need it. And short, I mean long. Don't want to offend you. Like for me being 40, I kind of look at, the 65 marker and I think that's so far away. Like, and I don't, the numbers don't work in super anyway, so I kind of feel like by the time I get there, will it even be there? So for me, I'm not interested in super. All it is an investment vehicle. It's not like it's the only way. You can have investment vehicles outside of superannuation, which is what I do, and I'd have to wait to 65 to see the benefits. So for me, I don't do that. Yes, your question is, should I have a buffer? You absolutely should have a buffer in your account. You've said here, I reckon you should have 1 quarter, 90 days. I reckon you should have a 90-day buffer. At least one BAS payment always locked away because that takes the pressure off on the day-to-day basis, which means you can think clearly and more creative. So yes, you should have a buffer. I'm not a big fan of superannuation, but you should seek your own independent advice before you go and take action on that. But for me, I would rather have a buffer and then, let me put it to you this way. Let's just use some nice round numbers. Let's say that you had a buffer of $15,000. I'm just picking some random number. It could be less, more, doesn't really matter. If I had that much money sitting around, and I run a 6-month buffer because I just don't like to feel any of that pressure. I wouldn't do that. I certainly wouldn't put any of that in super. If my thought was I should take $5,000 and put it in super, like if that was my thinking, I would then look at the other side of the maths and say, well, actually, at the moment, it costs me, $26 to buy a customer and they bring in $260. I'm 10xing my money. I would never put $5,000 in super. I'd go and put it in buying more customers and keep 10xing my money. That's going to give you a much better rate of return than any superannuation, wink, wink, is ever going to do. All right. So for me, that's just not how I would do it. I would rather use my money short term, get a much higher return than a potential 9 to 11% a year. But you should speak to your financial advisor before taking my advice because that is just smart. Well, guys, It has been a delight to spend this little bit of time with you. I will be back on Thursday this week at 3 p.m. We'll chop the show up and put it out every single day for you. Did you know that this show goes onto Facebook, it goes onto YouTube, it goes onto Instagram, it goes onto iTunes, and it goes onto LinkedIn? Do me a favor, would you? Tell more people about the show so that I can spread the message. Love ya. See ya.